for...
Hi, welcome Internet. It's April 13th. We're doing our JupyterLab dev meeting on Thursday, a day early, because tomorrow is Good Friday, and a lot of us have vacation tomorrow. Darian, were you saying something, or should we go on? Or okay. So let's start off with first thing we have is JupyterLab. Away.
Yeah, so we are introducing the single document mode and the multiple document toggle basically from the doc panel. So Phosphor had this added a few weeks ago, and now we're introducing it into JupyterLab. And I guess the best thing to do is just do a really short screen share right now, because the PR is still outstanding, so you can't check it out until it's merged. But this is the current state of it, and then we can probably iterate from there. Oh man, I have to add that extension. Hopefully it adds quickly.
I can talk while you.
It has been. Okay, great. There it is.
Okay.
Is my screen showing?
Yep.
Okay, great. So this is a regular JupyterLab session with everything collapsed, and I just have 3 tabs open, and I'm on the About page. And so there are 2 ways right now to get into single document mode from here. One is to go into the command palette and to search for, or you don't have to search, but in the main area, there's a single document mode command. Oh, this shortcut is wrong. Let me refresh. I just changed it. Sorry about that. Okay, right. So, oh, weird. I guess I didn't save it. But anyway, so you can see the tab bar just disappeared on top. And there's this new sidebar tab called Tabs that shows the tabs that were open so that you could switch those to be the single document that you're interested in. So where this is most compelling is, say you have a notebook and everything's collapsed. This is a much more familiar view to users of the classic notebook because there's no tab Chrome or any of the dock panel layout that might be confusing for users. There's still the left-hand sidebar because, well, first off, there's no way out without it, and secondly, because we do support all the things, it's just that they're not all showing. So this is fairly straightforward for now. It's pretty simple. We might want to make some changes to how that interaction with the tab sidebar works. We might want to change the name. Tabs itself might not be that clear. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward feature, so I don't really need to belabor the point. Yeah, I guess that's it for that.
Wait, I had a question or two about that. How does
Do you want me to
when you? Yeah, if you can show the screenshot. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you to try 2 or 3 things just to see how it works. In particular, how dragging works. So, like, if you drag a new file, does it open up a new tab or something, or what's the interaction like?
So
okay.
Yeah,
that's like what you would expect. And now, if you drag an output, do something inside the notebook and so that you can drag an output.
Okay.
Just type 1 or 2 or whatever, 1 + 1, yeah. And now drag that output, right? Remember, I thought we could drag outputs. Yeah. Okay. And then when you, yeah, well, so, I mean, now you got your dashboard, right? if you have a widget. Okay, and it's still called mirrored output, which is dumb, but dumb is in like
Naive.
we need to change it eventually. No, it's not. It's exact. It describes exactly what it is, but it's not extremely helpful. But it's a good
Basically,
consideration.
single document mode only ever allows a single document unless you take it out of single document mode. So you're no longer able to split the area into subdivisions.
Right, which is what I expected. I just wanted to see if it actually worked. Like, sort of.
No faith, man. No faith.
No. I expected it to work exactly like I thought. Just wanted to see it. I'm so excited about it. Anyway, awesome.
Cool.
And now if you do the Command P whatever to take it out of single document mode, what happens? Is it
actually, let me. So I have a problem because that keyboard shortcut is one that I can't override. So I need to recompile the app. The keyboard shortcut that I have right now that works is Excel Shift Enter or Command Shift Enter. That works, but Enter is maybe non-intuitive for people. We thought about Command Shift T for the word toggle, but the trouble with that is that in Chrome, that doesn't seem to be a shortcut you can override. So we might want to think about what's a good shortcut.
When you run Chrome in application mode, does it give you back a lot of these shortcuts?
I don't know.
Just curious. Huh.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go.
I say Command Shift P to open up the command palette and then just toggle it back, typing a command in.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so right now I do have the keyboard shortcut that worked before, and it just does this.
Okay, and if you drag the splitter, does it remember? So if you divide up that workspace and then switch to single document mode and then switch back, it'll remember your layout?
No, that's something we're going to have to address, handle on JupyterLab side, because you can add new stuff to the single document mode, and the question is where should that go?
Yes.
Additionally, the way that single document mode is implemented internally in the doc panel is it just takes all of the widgets that are in the doc panel and restores a layout that is nothing but a single tabbed area, and then hides that tab bar. And then anything that you continue to add, it just ignores whatever you specify and adds it into that same tab bar. And so in that case, if you're wanting to try to restore some kind of layout that was there beforehand before you put it into single document mode, you would see that layout. And then when you try to toggle it back, you'd figure out what widgets you have and what ones are new and what ones have been removed, and put the new ones someplace reasonable. If you try to restore a layout for widgets that don't exist or whatever, that it handles that gracefully. But in terms of adding the new stuff where you want it, you'd have to figure that out.
Right. I just wondered if Darian had written some of that code or not.
No. I can imagine basically here where the command is implemented, the set mode command that actually changes the mode. I can imagine here having some private collection that saves the layout from before, keeps track of the newly added things, and does basically what Chris described. And if that exists, it does it. If not, it just runs the command as is right now. But that's not currently there, no.
Cool. I'm really excited.
Cool. Anything else, or should I stop sharing?
Nothing else from me.
Okay. So as far as we were thinking, this seems like a good first step, and it seems like we can iterate from here, unless you think that layout saving is a showstopper and we should not merge before we have that.
I think it's fine to merge and let people play with it and then work on the layout restore.
Okay. Yeah, because I would really like for some design cycles to be put on the interaction with regard to the sidebar, the tab widget, basically, because it's not. It could be subtle. There's a lot of ways we could handle it. So I would like some people to think about it. And the easiest way is to just put it out there. Cool. Thanks.
Okay. I guess I'm next.
Yeah.
A couple days ago, we finally decided to make things as easy as possible on the extension mechanism in terms of using standard NPM workflows, standard NPM tools, not trying to hack around anything to make it work. So what we have today in the current PR is you're using npm pack, npm install, npm link, standard command line tools from npm to do the entire process. And so you have the same set of commands are used both within the distributed JupyterLab, the core package, as well as the one that ends up getting built in place in the shared Jupyter directory in the user's sysprefix folder. So we preserve the existing commands of JupyterLab, JupyterLab extension install, JupyterLab extension uninstall, JupyterLab extension list. Enabling and disabling is now there is no that notion goes away. The way you would disable, you can disable individual plugins by right now manually adding them to the ignored plugins page config. So those would get ignored by token name. We can, from within the app, build a UI that lists all the available tokens and whether they're explicitly ignored, and that's where you could enable disable. So that's where we, without rebuilding anything, we can have the disable enable feature. Right now, install or uninstall also builds the application, and later we could make it so that they're not necessarily linked, but you'd have to, if it's stale, you'd have to, the server extension for lab would have to see that, build on the fly, inform the user that it's building, or show a spinny bar on the page, and then load itself. But we deferred that to just say, just do it all at once. If you install something, it builds, and same for uninstall. There's also you can give a -- link for install for dev workflows if you're building an extension, so it'll actually npm link your extension in to preserve that workflow. What is not yet automated is the building against JupyterLab master, so that link workflow is only for building against a released JupyterLab at this point. So it has to be, you have to be on a tagged release to build against JupyterLab. It is technically feasible to build against the master. It's just we haven't implemented that part yet. So I did prove that out manually. Just we don't have a command for it yet. I think I've covered it all. What else am I missing? So if you launch the JupyterLab application and it doesn't see anything in the share directory, it'll load the one that was bundled with it, or you can explicitly force it to load that one by setting an environmental variable right now for developer use. So that part works. But in general, yeah, it's we're not hacking anything anymore. It's all standard npm tools and Webpack. So from an extension author standpoint, the biggest changes are an extension is just an npm package that you hand over, and it has to be if you run npm pack on it, that should contain all the artifacts that it needs. So if it's depending on a private package, you have to bundle that thing, or you could install a lab extension from anywhere that is a valid npm install target. So you could install from a git URL, from npm registry itself. So all those standard semantics will work for installing a lab extension, as long as that package you're installing has the relevant metadata to tell us that it is, in fact, an extension, which is the JupyterLab field with extension equals true to flag it as such. And we check that, we verify that metadata before allowing you to install it using the JupyterLab extension install command. Anything else, Jason, you can think of? You're on mute.
Yeah, off the top of my head. Wait, so when So it's not been merged yet, right?
Right. What I just said has to be written down. Some of it is in the top level comment. But yeah, I'd like to get the documentation in there because we're throwing out a bunch of documentation that was in Extension Builder
Right.
as part of the 4,000 lines or whatever that we're moving in this PR. So yeah, I'm done making changes to the workflow. The only thing we haven't thrown out any capabilities in that we have install and install. We have a way to enable and disable, and we have a way to link. The only thing we have lost is the ability to link against master, but I don't think we should hold up on that.
Did you try this workflow with the JupyterLab GeoJSON plugin?
Yes. So both the building against released artifacts and against master with JupyterLab GeoJSON. And I had to change it to not use, because it was using a private sibling package, so I absorbed it to make that work. But otherwise, nothing major had to change there. The other part is where it was using a Webpack loader to translate from ES6 using Babel. Instead, the build step now produces ES5 CommonJS. So an extension must provide an npm package that is CommonJS, is consumable by Webpack and not ES6 because none of browsers support that, and only include the file types that we have loaders for, and that list will be part of the documentation. So CSS, certain image files. If something is not in that format, you have to either exclude it or put it into that format, or else the final Webpack build won't go through. Because there is no such thing as as far as I could tell, a fallback Webpack plugin where if it doesn't recognize a file, it'll use the file loader or something. I'll look again on that because that would be nice to say, I don't recognize this file type. I'm just going to load it as a file. But I don't yet see a way to do that because that would be a nice thing to have.
Cool. On widgets, I think we're halfway done. We've got 21 closed issues and 21 open issues for IPyWidget 7. So we're almost there. We've got 30 some odd pull requests finished for IPyWidget 7. The main things of note were that we fixed a long-standing syncing issue that we had. Basically, up to this point, if we couldn't sync widget state right away, we would save the widget state to sync when so we throttle messages. If there was already a message in flight, we would not sync another message. We would not send another sync message. Instead, we'd hold on to it until the last sync message had been processed. But the problem is that we didn't take a snapshot of the widget state at that point. We just said, in the future, we will ask you again what your values are when we actually send the sync message. So there's all sorts of consistency issues with that. So we fixed the syncing issues so that anytime you try to sync widget state, it actually takes a snapshot of the thing that you were trying to sync and uses that for the actual syncing message that gets sent eventually. And so that seems to be working well. And then the other major change, which is good for JupyterLab actually, is that we finally changed the widgets. I think I just finished it just like a few seconds before the call. We finally changed widgets in the classic notebook to be in outputs instead of widget areas. So what this does is it means that people even in the classic notebook will be used to the workflow of having widgets in the output areas, hopefully by the time JupyterLab rolls around. So Martin, I think, is on the call. I've asked him to look at it and try it out. Anyway, he'll probably find some problems with it, and then we'll still have to fix things and then eventually merge it. But that's where we're at. Hoping to get 7.0 out soon, or various definitions of soon. Any other thoughts, news, comments?
Nope.
Okay. Have a good weekend, everyone. Bye, Internet.
Bye.
Yep.